welcome to Saving People, Queering Things, the supernatural podcast where the writers really want Dean to dance. Interesting. Interesting.
We'll get into
so
that
hard
today. Oh my God.
I was committing so hard to the question mark at the end of that sentence.
God, I love duo episodes.
Me too. Today we are pulling up to season 7, episode 16, Out with the Old. I'm your host, August. My pronouns are they, them.
And I'm Noah, pronouns he, him.
Okay, my question for you today is, if you had an object in your house most likely to be cursed, what would that object be?
I've got a couple of good answers here. I've got shit. Well, first of all, this massive D20 that I keep on my desk all the time that doesn't have the correct numbering. And that frustrates me a lot. So that, could be cursed. This little crochet Tiny the Ghost from our logo could very well be cursed.
Have I seen that tiny ghost before? Have you shown that before?
It glows in the dark.
Oh, yes, I do remember this now. It's so cute.
It's so cute, but very well might be cursed based on where I got it. But the realest potentially cursed item is this torch lighter that I have for no reason, NSA, don't worry about it, that I accidentally stole from a sibling.
Accidentally?
I did. Yeah, that part was an accident.
Was genuinely an accident?
Yeah. I felt really bad about it, but they got a replacement one for like $5. Fair. It was no big deal. But if you fill it up with too much butane, then it just
oh my
does that and explodes in flame. And when I try to light candles with it, I've burned off all the hair on my hand.
I believe that. That's a legitimate fire hazard.
Yes, it is.
I was not expecting the size of the flame that came out of that tiny little thing.
A fireball right there.
Yeah. I'm like, you doing that in your house? That's choice.
Yeah, fuck it. I've got a lot of D&D notes on my desk. It's fine. I was pointing it up. What about you?
Yeah. I think that I was trying to think of what would be the most likely to be cursed. And I was like, I still have some like art that was given to me by a couple of people that I'm no longer friends with for like a couple of reasons. And I still have some of their art that they gave me. Yep. And I feel like if I have anything that's likely to be cursed, it's probably that. I'm just very fond of the art and it's nostalgic, but it definitely would be the kind of thing that like would
have some
cursed.
Hexes thrown into it.
Yeah, really could.
I've got a portrait in the bluey style of me and some friends that I don't talk to anymore, but I can't take it down because it's right next to the bluey style portrait of my family. So like,
I didn't realize you had bluey style portrait art. I do need you to send me.
I will absolutely send
a shot of this because I do need to see it. Well, you're looking for that. You have now met us and heard about our cursed objects, and it is now time to catch you up. If you have not watched Supernatural recently, here is what you've missed on the road so far. Ooh. So I'm going to start, because it's a duo episode, I'm going to start by recapping the show up to this point. So Noah, when you are ready, you can count me down.
Absolutely. Okie dokie. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so they stopped an apocalypse. Sam stopped an apocalypse, but now we're dealing with a whole nother thing, which is that these creatures called the Leviathans have been released into the world, and there's the primordial creatures, and they're trying to do something. We don't quite know what. Sam is seeing visions of Lucifer that he can't seem to get rid of. Dean is really depressed because Cass is gone. Bobby is dead. It's just a whole real shit show right now, and they don't really have any leads for how to stop the Leviathans.
Damn. That was really good. I'm impressed.
Thank you.
You really pulled it out.
You know, I gotta keep finding new ways to do these show recaps.
How shitty would our show be if we just started like saying the same things every week?
Right? Like, so I just have to get creative, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So, you know, we're doing our best. But now it is time for you to do your best at recapping this week's episode. Let me know when you are ready.
I am ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so the brothers show up in this town. They realize that these ballet shoes are cursed, and then they start following that trail back, and they go to like a haunted object store, basically. But really, it's just these specific items, which for some reason the guy sold, even though they were kept in a safe with hexes and charms on it. Jesus. Anyway, they track it down. They realize that it's Leviathans that are buying up the whole rest of the town, and so then they kill one of the Leviathans. Well, they kill both the Leviathans, but like one of them kind of helps them for a bit. Cool. Oh, Frank's dead. Fuck. Damn it. I hate this.
We don't know that Frank is dead.
That's true. That's true.
Frank is gone.
I've got thoughts about
His
that.
post does not look good, but that's the end of the episode. We will get there.
Yeah,
we will get
yeah.
there. So now we're all caught up. It is time for this week's hunt. And as we said before, today we are pulling up to season 7, episode 16, Out with the Old, through the theme of Obscurement. And I'm excited to hear about what you think about this episode.
What I think about Obscurement, it's a hard word to spell. That's where I'm at on that.
It's a fun word to say, though.
It is.
Obscurement. It sounds like it should.
Yeah, it sounds like it's hard to visualize.
Before we get started, some content warnings for this episode. We will be talking about abusive relationships relating to Sam and Lucifer. We'll talk a little bit about psychosis, insomnia,
car crashes.
There's going to be some heavy topics in this episode. Dealing with Sam's trauma.
Also, self-harm is probably going to be a big part of this episode.
Yeah. So, listen, take care of yourself as you listen. As always, we will do our best to talk about these subjects with sensitivity.
I honestly kind of liked this episode. It was pretty good.
Couldn't remember. Again, I feel like I've said this every other week, but with this season. But I didn't remember a bunch of the plot of this episode until I started watching it. But I also really quite enjoyed it. I think it was a good mix of overarching plot threads being woven in, and then this one individual case.
Especially because it did that subtly. The store that their case led them to just happened to be getting bought up by the Leviathans. That's a good way to combine those two elements in a really natural feeling way. I liked it.
Yeah, exactly.
The start with the ballet dancer exploding her feet off.
So gruesome.
What the fuck?
So gruesome. It's one of I am not fazed by a lot in Supernatural because it's usually pretty gory.
Yeah, they're passionate for that.
That is one of the ones where I'm ooh, that's just kind of a cringy one to imagine happening.
Yeah. It felt like someone had a vendetta with ballet when they were writing this episode.
Have you ever met someone who did ballet?
That's true.
Ballet is I have friends that did dance in elementary school and high school, and a significant number of them have a really hard time with any kind of dance now because of how their studios were with competition and the culture and the body stuff that not that saying that's not everyone's experience with dance, but a lot of people's experience with dance is that. So
I'll go ahead and say most of the people I met that did competitive dance in southern Kerrville, Texas, most of them were douchebags. Hated them. We did not get along. So anyway. I might not leave that part in.
You do you.
We will see.
You do you.
I really.
But it's.
Nope. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I don't remember what I was saying. I was rambling. Go.
I really like Frank's dynamic with Dean in this episode.
Yes, I wanted to point so too.
Fucking good. The first conversation they have when he's I could be in Oslo. I don't remember where he says, but it's a Norwegian city. And Dean's all where the fuck is that? Norway, you dumbass. Get your head out of your ass. And then he's talking about Butte, and Dean's wow, okay, so they're in Montana. He's oh, okay, wow, you know where Montana is. Cool.
Which, I mean, considering considering their entire lives they've spent driving around the country, it makes sense that he knows where a city in Montana is and not Norway, because he didn't barely went to school. So
and they've been overseas the one time, right? To get Crowley's bones. As far as we're aware.
Yeah, that's one time that we've had on screen and that they've literally ever talked about.
Yeah.
But they don't even fly places. They drive always.
Yeah. But then Frank ending that conversation by you could stick it up your Montana.
They have They have such a fun dynamic, and it's this sort of crotchety, it's sort of reminiscent a little bit of the Bobby Rufus dynamic.
Yeah.
But a little bit more cantankerous because they're not friends.
I think it's because they both have a somewhat of a feeling of superiority over each other.
Yes.
Because Frank is older and knows his shit more, but Dean has hunted things and knows how they work. So they both kind of have this edge over the other. But
and they both think the other one should be they both think the other person should be more grateful to them for the information that they're giving. And they're both annoyed that the other person does not seem to respect
Which really
They
just
need
speaks
each
to how
other.
similar they are.
Oh, they're so
They're just
similar. Like
different sides of a spectrum.
they
Come on.
are, and it's absolutely so fun to watch them interact. Like I forgot how many like little interactions we get from them in different
Yeah.
episodes. Like that they're just kind of constantly in communication, and
When
they're not.
he's
It's not so funny.
when he's like, oh, and another thing. Boop, boop, boop. Fucking good. I was
Just they're
dying.
it's fun
Oh,
because they've kind of have this antagonistic element, but they've clearly also developed a little bit of a like friendship out of
yeah.
just like calling each other, and like
Yeah.
there's a reason we only see Dean talk to Frank. Like
Yeah.
they are constantly communicating, and so I think it's kind of fun. And you kind of see that on Dean's face at the end of the episode when they get to Frank's trailer and it's trashed, and like
God.
Dean, like obvious, they're concerned, and like I think it's like he's as much as he's like annoyed by Frank, there's also some care there.
There's a
Just
real amount of care there for sure.
yeah,
Which
just
I
I feel
think
like it
is
just
shown
happens
both
over time.
ways because Dean falls asleep with Frank for like 36 hours, right? And Frank's
Yeah,
like, oh, well, yeah, no, I let you sleep. Like, I made sure you got rest. Like, I was
yeah.
watching out for you. Like,
They're
damn.
never going to admit it. They're never going to admit that
No.
they have developed some care for each other, but they will act like they care for each other.
Yeah. Which, I
And
mean, actions speak louder than words. That's what they say, right?
especially with these kind of characters, like neither of these
Yeah.
characters seem like people. Like we know Dean is not good with his words, and we can kind of imply that Frank is not good with his words.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
He's terrible with his words. The way that he's like, oh, yeah, the Bobby stuff. Anyway, yeah, no, that leads nowhere. Like, motherfucker, that's their dad. Put some
he's
respect
so
on his name.
callous about it.
I hated that part, but I still loved
Yeah,
it.
that's fair. That's fair. It's a good dynamic. And again, it's really woven, I think, well into this episode's plot structure where you like get as you're building the plot,
Mhm.
which is going to eventually end up with information about Leviathans.
Yeah.
You're also getting these check-ins. Like it's sort of a little like when you think about it in retrospect, it's sort of these hints that like this
Yeah.
case is Leviathans the whole way through.
And
Even
it
though we don't
builds tension about Frank too the whole time because it's like, oh, Frank's like getting deeper. He's investigating more. And now he's been taken.
yeah, puts us in the mind of like Frank being really connected
Yeah.
right before something happens. And we don't know what happens. Like Dean says, this is not good.
I can 100% visualize the next time Frank shows up, which I hope is next episode because I like him a lot. And now that Bobby's gone, I need someone to latch on to.
You need someone. We're running out of secondary characters to
I'm
latch onto.
realizing that maybe I have like an uncle vibe, like because it's not daddy issues. Because
No,
like yeah,
but
Bobby
it's-
was their dad, but my dad's amazing. So like
Right. It's not that.
I
It's
think
this
it's like uncle issues.
uncle figure.
Yeah, like I'm big on having uncle
You do-
figures who come in and kick ass. My aunt's also great. Her ex-husband was a piece of shit, so that
So
might
maybe
have
there's
played a part.
maybe there's some uncle issues going on.
Maybe.
You're attaching yourself to these older male characters that are
Which,
in sort of
okay.
protective roles.
Oh shit, wait. My middle namesake is from an uncle who lives in it's unofficial uncle, like my dad's
Yeah.
best friend who lives up in
Yeah.
Oregon.
Yeah.
We hung out there
Yeah, I've met him.
together.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he's great.
He's an icon and a legend. So I think
Yeah.
he's my
He's
the
the-
level,
he's the
baseline,
standard.
the standard
He's
that I
the
hold
standard.
uncle characters too. Fuck.
Right.
Damn,
So you're
Uncle
always
Chris, you
looking
fucked
for
me
like
up.
that character always makes you feel safe. And Frank is the closest you're getting to that character right now.
Which is so ironic. I think I've talked
He's
about
such
this
an
on the show
asshole.
before, but I don't know. My siblings and I have a deal with this Uncle Chris in Oregon. And this has been established since I was 12 years old, probably earlier, because it was before we moved to New Mexico. Whatever. Whenever he passes away, he has this cabin up in Oregon, which is gorgeous. Love the area.
Gorgeous. Oh, I slept on the porch in
Oh,
that cabin
sweet.
the one time I
Oh my
visited.
God, that
And like slept on the porch
reclining-
swing.
Yeah,
It was
it reclines
incredible.
into a porch
It's one of the best
bed.
sleeps of my life.
Oh my
It was amazing.
God.
It was
So
amazing.
good. Love that shit. But once he passes, God fucking forbid, us Sprouse kids have sections of his body that we have.
That's not what I was expecting to come out of your mouth.
I know. We've got sections of the body that we have laid claim
Does
to.
he know this?
Oh no, he's the biggest fan of this deal. He's like the biggest encourager. we've laid claim to different sections of his body. In the event of his passing, we have to prepare those portions in the most appealing way in a meal. And then
what the
August's
actual
face.
fuck?
Wait, and
I'm
then
sorry. Again, the twists in this story are very disturbing.
And then the remaining members of their friend group, my dad, there's a few others here in San Antonio. I think there's one in Tennessee, maybe. They've spread out a little bit, but the remaining members will all have to try each of these dishes and score each one. And whoever gets the most points wins the cabin.
That's incredibly disturbing as a story. I'm not sure that I wanted to know that.
I can't believe I haven't mentioned it on the podcast when the siblings were on. I swear.
I can't believe this hasn't come up. I can't believe in 10 plus years of knowing your family, this has never come up.
I'm pretty sure I've claimed the butt. I think Hannah Beth has the backstrap. Theo might have the breast. And oh shit, somebody's got a bicep. I think Paul Lewis got stuck with like the shin, like the
because he was the youngest, because he was the little one. And you were like,
yeah,
tough luck, buddy.
Oh, I do think
older sibling privileges.
I think it was Phoebe, maybe. That was like, you know what? Nobody's claimed the tongue. Isn't beef tongue like a thing, a dish? We were like, oh.
We're like, that's a choice.
But anyway, the important thing is that cannibalism isn't illegal. It's about where you got the body from. That's what's really illegal in America, at least. I don't know what's up in Canada.
You know, I could look it up, but I actually don't think I want to know.
Cannibalism rules, August? What are you talking about? What?
I'm not saying I've never looked them up. I'm just saying they're not on the tip of my, like, they're not like at the top of my brain.
Fair.
I don't think I want them to be.
That's also fair. So, hey, if anybody out there has tips on how to perform long
you know what? No, I'm going to stop you right there and say that's not the kind of advice we're asking for on this podcast. Please do not send us messages about this.
This is flashbacks to the D&D episode we just recorded. So sorry, this is like way ahead of when the episode's going to come out, guys. But somebody asked, hey, real quick, what's the quickest way to like put someone out of their misery? And I responded way too fast. So
yeah, you needed to like at least pretend that you didn't immediately have the answer to that.
Yeah, that hurt a little bit.
Secrets getting revealed on this podcast.
I think it's because I watched The Walking Dead. Like, so they like have to like take out.
I do respect that. I do respect that you know that for that reason. That makes sense.
Weird that I didn't say it on that episode though. Okay, anyway, we're gonna move on. I think it was really interesting to me that when Sam brings up that Lucifer is still talking to him constantly, because now that Sam's let him in, it's a nonstop argument between the two of them.
I think they developed that so well. Like, I think that they developed that so well in the previous episode, and then using that as like, that's the door. And I think that kind of makes sense, like in terms of the mental, because this is all in Sam's head. Like, this isn't actually Lucifer. It's the version of Lucifer that he has in his head.
Well,
and
I'm not convinced it's not really Lucifer.
Well, that's as far as we know.
Oh, okay.
That is what we currently know. Is like everything we've been told is that this is like Sam's brain.
Of like this is Sam's part brain. Of Sam that was broken by Lucifer.
Yeah, this is Sam's trauma.
Yeah.
Sam's memories of Lucifer are creating this sort of like psychosis.
Antagonistic psychosis.
Yeah, and I think it is kind of it's a good storytelling that they've gone like, oh, Sam opened the door because that allowed him to access, like he communicated with Lucifer in his mind because that allowed him to access information that he needed in the previous episode. But now that he's like gone there, he can't slam that door shut.
Can't be closed. Yeah.
And I mean, it's kind of heartbreaking because like we spent so much time last season and early this season like trying to figure out how to get Sam out of this situation, and now it's just sort of crept back in really like nefariously. Like we thought we were done with this, and now
and Elena, Jay, and I talked about this a pretty decent amount last episode about how that's how manipulators work. They wear you down and they make it seem like you want what they have, but really they want to get into whatever you've got going on. So it was, and
even if Lucifer is only in Sam's head, the power that he has, that still is working, that he is still able to like manipulate Sam, even if it's just Sam's own brain manipulating him. Like it's and it's like really, it's interesting because like before when he was having these visions, they were creating like a really intense situations. And now it's like sort of become this like in the background sort of like almost white noise that Sam just can't ignore, and he can't sleep because Lucifer is just always there
constantly. That's fucking insane. Oh my
God. You can see, I think they did also a really good job in this episode of showing over the course of the episode how that's wearing Sam down.
Yeah.
Like how that's affecting his ability, his hunting abilities. Like he almost gets killed in a car crash. But yeah, like Sam almost dies because Lucifer's keeping him awake. And like it's really close.
And the worst part is that you know that Lucifer is keeping him awake, but then in the moment when he sees Sam is starting to like do the long blinks, he stops. You know, and so that Sam like has some relief and it's like, oh wow, a moment of silence. Like that's the worst part of it to me.
I do think, like, in terms of, like, obscurement, like, we're talking about that as sort of a theme, like, Lucifer is trying to obscure Sam's view of reality again. He's trying to obscure Sam's, like, ability to hunt, and it's working. He's not doing it to the level, again, in Sam's brain, it's not doing it to the level where Sam is, like, to the level that it was in the previous time, where he's, like, Sam's, like, unconscious, unable to function. He's keeping him just at this level where he is able to function, but he's also not able to function.
It
like
also makes me wonder because like we've seen episodes where Lucifer shows up as Dean, right, and leads Sam to a place where he thinks that Dean
led in his
there. But like
if this is Sam in Sam's head,
if this isn't Sam's head,
is that possible? Is Sam's brain creating a situation where Lucifer, he thinks where like Lucifer is manipulating him by pretending to be Dean? Is that something that Sam's brain would do?
And see, that's
and did that happen in hell? Like, because if that happened in the cage, then that makes sense that he's replicating that.
Yes, that's one of the biggest factors that makes me think that this is a form of Lucifer. Like maybe he left a seed in Sam that could grow into a full Lucifer if Sam
or like access.
Oh, like a keyhole because
I'm like, I feel like a seed that doesn't sort of
a seed that I don't know how grow into a fully formed Lucifer. Like okay.
I'm like, I still sorry, you're still losing me a little.
It's okay. I am trying. There's a game that I played at one point. Feels like it was Mass Effect, but I don't think it was Mass Effect. Somebody could implant a part of their consciousness into some other creature, and then if it became symbiotic, then you could leave behind the old body and come into the new one.
Okay, you've left access. You've left like all the information to like Lucifer's almost like left all the information within Sam for him to jump if Sam allows it.
A zip file, right? You know, like when you zip them up so they're like really tiny, but then if you like open that zipper, it's a huge file and it's like bam.
Okay.
So that's sort of where I'm at. Like Lucifer left
you think
a zip
that's
file.
A possibility.
In Sam's
brain, and this is, and now that's giving him access to Sam.
Because I mean, let's be real. We still don't really know how Sam came back, right? Like they said it was God. Cass said he dragged. I mean, Cass said he got Sam out, but he didn't manage to get him out with his soul. However, there was a lot going on with Cass at that point, so like that doesn't necessarily negate your argument. Did they confirm that Cass brought Samuel back too?
I believe so.
I feel like he died before we got that confirmation.
I think it was heavily implied.
Okay.
Because how did Samuel get out otherwise? I think it was heavily implied.
He wasn't in heaven. We all know that. He could have got him at the same time. What if Cass went down to hell and said, I need someone with this bloodline, you know, the Winchesters, that bloodline. And it's a Sam. I mean, I guess his full name is probably Samuel, and grabbed in. And since he grabbed two, he couldn't bring both souls. He was like, I don't know. Here we go.
We did kind of talk about, I feel like we talked about when this whole thing happened about how Cass how did Cass miss Sam's soul? That seems like some negligent sort of work. So that
absolutely,
I like your argument.
I like this argument for sure because it's weird, but he would have wanted to bring back quote unquote the full Sam. So he brought back full Samuel, but it was still in that bloodline. He couldn't have asked Samuel Winchester. He could only give one name and one bloodline, you know? And so he knew Dean. He had Dean Dean's blood like imprinted on his hand from the scar he put on. And he was like, yeah, so my boyfriend, pick his bloodline and find a Sam there. That's what I'm gonna have to believe from here on out.
That's honestly, we've lost the plot of this episode a little.
We've lost the plot. We're talking about last season. This. Jesus.
Okay, we gotta go back. Okay, so
Dean watched Black Swan twice.
Okay, so yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into the queer coding in this episode.
Absolutely, yes, please.
Which is that the writers are like, we've got ballet situation going on here. What if we just really heavily imply that like Dean, like it's very explicit sort of queer coding when you like think about it. Because the ballet shoes, they change size to be Dean's size. You get a ton of shots of Dean sort of being drawn towards them. Like it's so interesting because that's very much like it's very clear the writers are trying to imply something.
Yes.
That they have sort of implied in the past.
Especially because it's not like the first one of the brothers that sees them. Because Sam walks into the bathroom first and then Dean comes in second. So it's not like anything about like, well, I just latched on to the next best option. It's which one of the people I'm around right now would enjoy this, would put me on.
Yeah. And like it is there's some unfortunate things here where it's like I don't trust the writers.
No, definitely
not all of them. Like there definitely were writers in that room that were writing like queer coded elements to these characters in good faith, and there were definitely writers in the room that were not doing that. They were writing it because they thought it was funny, like because they thought it was funny to make gay jokes about Dean specifically and feminizing jokes. And like
I really hope that the writers, maybe they were queer, maybe they weren't, maybe they were just like quote unquote ally, and maybe they took the jokes that people were suggesting, like, oh, what if we make it this? And they're like, oh, that's actually perfect. What if we do that? But we don't make it a joke, like.
I do think there was an interplay because I think that we've seen this in like interpretations from fans for the whole time the show has existed, where you see like a group of fans that go, yes, this writing was not always done in good faith. Like sometimes it is done to be homophobic.
Like when the Campbell,
but that doesn't make it less. Yeah. But that doesn't make it less like queer coding. And then there's the other like element where like I think it can be both. Like it can be both like a harmful stereotype that they're like being like, haha, Dean's into something girly. That's kind of queer. But it can also be like there is an element of Dean that we have seen him want to explore gender in interesting ways.
Yes.
And like enjoy things that are often associated with queerness. And then that is also like a hint towards the reality.
I think this is a perfect time to revisit the time that he put on Rhonda Hurley's panties. I hate
hate saying it, hate hearing it, but you know what? You said it once, you don't have to say it again. It is. It's necessary. It's necessary to make that reference, but no less.
I'm gonna leave in the hesitation.
Please do. Please do.
It's like okay, I guess. Should have said undies, but whatever.
That's not.
It's not better.
Not better. No, it's not better.
Underpants.
No, you know what? I think just quit while you're ahead or not ahead, actually.
Cut out the parts where I'm behind. I hear what you're saying.
Anyway, I think it's great. I think it's like another little, again, it's one of those like things we're sort of building all of this evidence of queerness in the show. And this is another like pretty good direction that way. They lean into some of those stereotypes, but they also lean into the language. We find out, that he's enjoyed Black Swan, that he like twice. Sam calls Dean Berwichnik. Like there's this stuff that has happened.
Yeah. And he's watched it enough that he mentions specific like ballet moves and ballet artists. Like
and like we know that Dean enjoys pop, like lots of forms of pop culture. We know that that's sort of a lot of the way he understands the world. So like that also feels very in character for him to like have attached to something like this. Maybe it was on in a motel room when he was a kid and he was just really into it.
Black Swans.
Not when he was a kid.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Have you ever seen Black Swan?
I have not. No, 2010.
Neither,
so 2010. So
it's recent at this point, right? Because we're in 2013. So
it's
I think 2012, 2013, somewhere in there.
Yeah, 2012, 2013. So like this is a recent, he saw it twice, which would have been around season 2, season 3, which is very interesting.
Wow,
time
that's about around season 4, season 5. He probably watched it with Lisa.
Or consider Cass.
Yeah.
or Cass. Or Cass. Let's just
Okay.
go
Maybe he
there.
watched it once with Cass and then again with Lisa afterwards. Was like, oh, have you seen this movie? Oh, it kicks ass. You're gonna love it. Like,
I
but
love
Cass
this.
no, actually, I think it's better if he watches it with Lisa first because
And
quote
then
unquote
is
she
like
wants to
Cass.
watch it, whatever. And then it's
Right.
like, oh my God, I fucking love
And then
this is
shows
so
it to
good.
Cass.
And then shows it to Cass at the beginning of season 6 or like early, mid to late season.
Ooh, that's
6.
interesting because then it's
I don't know which one of those I like better, but I think I like him showing Cass on the second go around.
Yeah, I do as well. And however the timeline works for that, I believe it.
Yeah. I think we have to watch Black Swan now.
I do think we do. I do think we do. I think that's a thing we might have to do. Okay, so moving on to other things.
Sorry, I have one really funny note that I want to say.
Make it.
When they go into the bathroom and they find Tracy wearing the shoes, doing her dance starts. And then they like Sam being like, I'll hold her, you grab the shoes, and her kicking him in the face.
It's so comedic and silly.
So good.
It's
and the
good.
way he's like, I want to be offended, but first of all, it's a kid. Second of all, it's a cursed object. Like can't be mad.
It's good. It's good physical comedy. It's good. It's fun.
Yeah,
and like this episode gets darker and darker, so it's fun that it starts off with some comedy. It's and happy that they saved the kid. I'm always happy when there's a kid and the kid doesn't die. It's just nice.
Yeah.
And I do think it's just fun that it's brute force. They get the shoe off, like they don't do anything supernatural. They just yank on it until it comes off. Like
untie that shit.
Should it really work if it's a cursed object? Like question mark. But like sure. Plot, convenience.
Maybe the ballet shoes need to be on the ground, and that's like where they draw their power from their connection.
So they're less powerful when they're
suspended.
But she's still kicking and moving.
But she's not touching the ground.
That's true.
Both Sam and Dean are tall as fuck. So if Sam's like picking her up,
that's true.
She's a good 4 feet above the ground, probably. Damn. Okay, but yeah, let's keep on trucking.
Okay, I want to say, and you mentioned something about this in your recap, and so I think we might have different opinions on this. To be fair, I think that if you are someone whose parent owns an antique shop,
you're a Scott defender,
I'm not going to defend him. I'm just saying, in a world where you don't know the supernatural is real, something locked in a safe might just be because it's valuable. I don't think it's like, again, I think it's like the wisest thing that you should take something that's got wardings on it and I think you should not maybe think about that, but also like in a world where you have never experienced the supernatural, you have no reason to believe.
It's fair.
Is it really like, I don't really like, I'm like, is that maybe, should you not do that, dude? Maybe I'm not saying he is blameless, but I'm also just saying like, is it really entirely his fault that he kind of thinks like it's fair game?
Yeah,
he didn't realize the risk. They kind of assume a lot of like supernatural knowledge from him that is not really like, I'm like, wow, how do you know?
It feels to me like the lady, his mom, I don't think we ever get her name.
I don't remember.
But Scott's mom, it feels to me like she had a second safe. Like that's where she kept the valuable stuff.
I do think it's still a little like that he takes the stuff that clearly was most valuable to her and then just sells it.
Immediately.
That's the part that's like kind of
cool,
like
bud.
That's
but he
cool.
says the safe in the back, not like in the safe. He says the safe in the back.
True, he does.
So like that sort of implies to me that like maybe there was like a jewelry safe where she kept like the real valuable shit. But this one has a bunch of glyphs and charms and wardings to protect it. If I opened both of those safes and one of them didn't have it and the other one did, I would not be touching that second one. I'd be like, okay, yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Appreciate you.
Yeah, I do think it's not a smart move.
Definitely not.
Not really defending this dude, just trying to be like, I don't think it's entirely. I think Sam and Dean have been caught in this world for so long that they forget that like other people, people have had literally no experience with the supernatural and have no reason to believe it even exists.
Especially because his mom just passed away the week before. Like, he's going through a lot right now. Like, for sure. He's having to process everything and him going off of
someone's trying to buy his store too. Like,
yeah, but I think the assumption is that she died mysteriously in a car crash. And then when he like came to deal with everything, he found out that she had just agreed to sell it. Yeah. So he's trying to get rid of everything as fast as possible. well, because obviously the Leviathans killed her and covered it up with her signature and shit, like, which we see them do later on in the episode. Like, that's got to be not a fun experience to go through as a child of someone who just passed away.
It sucks. This whole thing is he's actually in such, it's so terrible.
Yeah, it's
like
tragic,
so terrible what's happening to him.
So many different aspects.
So I'm like, you sold some cursed objects. Like, that's not great, but also kind of like, it's not really your fault. You didn't know they were cursed.
But to be fair, there's so many other things in this shop that he hasn't sold off yet. It's like,
it's true, but hey, also, like, if you're trying to make the most amount of money, like, if you're trying to like, again, maybe he needs the money, like, maybe he's whatever, and so like the things in the locked safe are probably more valuable than the things that are like not in the locked safe.
But they're also
I don't know why I'm defending him still.
No, it's okay. I get it. I think it's also like a set of circumstances where he's like, hey, everything's got to go. Come and buy anything. And people are like looking around being like, do I really need this? And then they see an object that calls to them and they're like,
this is also the cursed object.
Yeah. So it's like, okay.
They sell themselves. They push themselves to be sold.
Yeah. So I want to know, like, if he had sold anything else besides those cursed objects. Like, if you're doing an out of business sale, did he sell other stuff outside of that? Or was it just the object you took from this safe with all these glyphs on it? Like, maybe be concerned.
Maybe be concerned. I think that's a fair critique of his actions.
Let's talk about the Leviathans in this episode.
Okay, I think that's the like other thing we need to talk about.
Yeah.
Can I make one comment about one comment that I just found fun? This is very small. They have good coffee here. Dude, that's Seattle. I thought that was funny. I think it's funny that Dean is like, the coffee is good. And to be fair, you're in Portland. Coffee's also good there.
I was gonna say, I feel like both have pretty good coffee.
Yeah, it's the Pacific Northwest. It's good coffee.
Yeah. All the coffee beans in the Northwest are solid.
Dean's not wrong. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say about that. I thought it was a fun comment. Again, fun little personality moment. Anyway, Leviathans. Surprise!
Yes.
Leviathans!
Woo,
I do like that we don't get the reveal until like 2/3 of the way through the episode.
Yeah, it's a good decent amount of time.
You genuinely do think that this is like something else?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so that these people are maybe wielding cursed objects?
Yeah, because it's very clear that the real estate group is the bad guy, right? Because they show up that one time early on, and then as they're walking through town, you see multiple posters in the background, like sold by, like, and then when Dean notices it, it's like already more than halfway through the episode. So it's like, okay, thank you, you're finally catching on. Cool.
Yeah.
So I think they do like we were talking about earlier, how they do a really good job of subtly blending the overarching season plot with this episode story. Like, it was pretty subtle. I liked it a lot.
And we really don't get the reveal until the real estate agent threatens to eat her assistant. And we're like, okay, it's Leviathan. Leviathans.
Oh, gotcha. They mentioned
that's what's happening.
Dick doesn't want to show up in the papers. Oh, gotcha. Gotcha.
Also, just more evidence of the Leviathans just going to random places and just fucking shit up. Like, why are they here?
Do we think it's random places, or do we? Because he says
what do you think?
Everywhere, right? Like,
what do you think? What do you think about just in general, actually, like where the plot of the Leviathans are going? Because again, we got a few reveals in this episode. Like, we found out the Leviathans are
quote unquote here to help,
and they're doing
cancer.
It's going to be a research center, the place that Bobby directed them to with his dying breath.
No, I don't think that's what he was talking about. Was he talking about Wisconsin?
Well, location.
No,
that's
I thought
the location.
But they're not in Wisconsin right now.
No, but like that's what I mean is when they talk about curing cancer, they talk about that being at that research center, which is in that location.
Oh, I thought Georgie at the end I thought he was talking about the town they were in right now. They were buying up downtown so it could be a research center. Because Dean asks like about what are you doing in Wisconsin? He's like, I don't fucking know anything about that. And he's like, okay, well, why are you buying up downtown?
You're right.
It's going to be a research center, which I think your point probably stands to be more logical, because why would they build a research center in the center of downtown of this little city? Like, what?
Yeah.
I really don't remember which one it was, but
I don't either. Should have paid more attention to that. I think me knowing this, things.
That's what I'm about to say. That's what I was about to say. Do they build a research center in Wisconsin later on?
I'm not going to.
Wait, no, I think this is a valid
I'm
minor spoiler
pretty
that you can
sure
give me.
I'm pretty sure it is a research center.
Wisconsin is?
Yeah, or
Okay.
there's a connection to the research element. There is a connection between that location and what they say about curing cancer. There is a connection.
Okay.
That's
See,
what I think I can safely say.
Yeah, I don't think that's
without it
a
being really
spoiler actually, because they
That's,
like
you have
gave
all that
us that
information.
info in this episode.
You
It
have
was
all
just
that
a little
information.
unclear about where it's at. So
Yeah. So like I think
I
the
like
idea that like they're curing cancer, there's research going to be happening. They're here to help,
which is
heavy quotation marks.
Big ass.
Because also they're
huge
eating a lot
quotation
of
marks.
people.
Eating so
They're
many people.
Yeah. And very much enjoying eating people.
Yeah. Which
like
doesn't
it's not like they don't seem to be treating it as a necessary evil of like we gotta eat.
Okay, I think
they're just eating people.
Oh, some gears are turning.
Okay, tell me. And I'm not going to answer any of your questions, but tell me.
I'm going to look away from the camera. I think the research center is investigating cancer because that's a big weakness of the Leviathans. Like that might have been introduced to the world by Chuck in order to give them something that can take them down. And I think they're trying to cure it because like they want to get rid of it. But I also think the research center is mostly like the cure for cancer might be something that, has to go out, like a vaccine and like goes to everybody, or maybe they make it airborne or waterborne. And really it just turns everybody into Leviathans.
Ooh,
and
okay.
It's
a fascinating plot thread you're like drawing out here.
And because like, what are the Leviathans here for? Like they came out because they've been kept in purgatory for
like locked
who
away.
Fucking knows how long? Hundreds of thousands of years? We don't know.
Yeah,
they're older.
I think they imply that it was like basically since like the Earth existed,
like creation.
Like they were created, and then when they got too powerful and too dangerous, Chuck was like,
"Don't they say
away.
Like we were the first creation?
Yeah,
and then like angels are 2nd.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and then humans.
They talk about being pre-angels.
Okay, and then Lucifer fell and started making demons. Like that's his whole kind of thing. He twists humans into demons.
Yeah,
and so technically, there's only like 3, well, maybe 4 variations of creations from Chuck: Leviathans, angels, humans, and animals. Right?
Yeah,
like that's a good base.
Yeah, that's a good base. That's what we know.
Genus, species, etc., etc.
Yeah,
all the way down.
Those are the categories we kind of know of.
Okay. So maybe they're gonna research cancer so they can figure out how to kill angels.
Okay.
Because
also a fascinating proposition.
God might have made angels not stronger than Leviathans because Cass got, possessed. Well, to be fair, he got possessed by a lot of them.
And you wouldn't necessarily lock up all the Leviathans if angels were strong enough to just take them out. You would just take, like, theoretically, you would think like, Chuck would just have the angels wipe out the Leviathans. There's a reason they get locked up.
It's true. Does that imply that God also can't kill them? Because
good question.
If he...
Good question.
Sorry, I'm going to keep looking away from the camera while I'm theorizing.
It's okay. I have a better poker face when no one else is here.
There's no one else to make eye contact with.
There's no one else to feed off of, so I can just sort of roll with whatever you're saying.
I'm still gonna not do it because
I think that's so wise.
I think I read too much into
and say something that's too right or too wrong. I might give it away.
There might be a hint of I don't know. I've gotten pretty good at reading us.
You have
as a group, but
you have.
I'm gonna say that I think if God locked them away and not the angels locking them away, then I think it's implied that God can't even kill them because not to get too cynical on our podcast about a queer demon angel hunting show, whatever, but God has certainly proven that he doesn't really care about how many humans die here and there, how many angels die here and there, about all these different things. And I know they've said that God has left the building, yes, but if he had that sort of care over the past 2,000 years, then he might have had the same sort of care with the Leviathans. So it kind of makes me think that the angels locked up the Leviathans because they couldn't figure out how to kill them, but they figured out how to contain them to purgatory.
Right.
Or trap them there somehow.
Right. Ooh,
Okay.
interesting.
Okay, wait. Sorry. Why haven't they brought in death? Death can surely kill leviathans, right?
So
I
is why do they lock them up if they can kill them? Or
oh,
if they have, but can angels,
motherfucker.
like, are angels, do angels have, like, death is
Access
incredibly
to death?
powerful.
Yeah,
Like, angels don't seem to have control of death. Like, angels can't tell death what to do.
which is
I mean,
fucking wild.
Death has even said God can't really tell death
Yeah,
what to do. He
and he
said,
can't kill
like, in the
me.
end, I'll reap him too. Like,
Yeah,
that's sort of,
that's his whole mantra is
like,
that
death
he
is
is
sort of
on equal terms with God.
right.
It's
In
like
terms
they're
of
both
power, they can't,
opposites.
right. There's a push and pull of, like,
Hmm.
them, of their existence, but they don't have power over each
The
other
other. Yes.
in terms of, like, their mortality.
So
Neither of
maybe,
them seem to
oh
be mortal.
shit. What if the Leviathans are death and God's love babies?
What?
Hmm.
What?
Now, see, that one was a little too unhinged, so I looked back at the camera just so I could get August's reaction to that. What if death and God, over the millennia that they have, bounced back and forth across the multiverse, like he said, one of them, hey, let's fuck, like let's get it on, and then their kids are Leviathans, and those spread into, oh, actually, hey, these are rabbit Leviathans. We should push them off into fucking. Sorry, I got distracted. Trying to figure out what you were typing to Elena.
No, I'm just
No,
typing. Sorry,
it's
I'm
fine. It's fine.
typing
It's fine. No, no,
possible
no.
episode titles based on this conversation. That's all
Oh,
I'm
okay.
doing.
Okay. Death and Chuck's love child. It's pretty
Yeah,
good.
you know what? This is the thing: is I have Can God Kill Leviathans and Death and Chuck's.
Well, you could put Death and God's love child. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know if we
yeah,
want to put spoilers out in the
yeah.
titles, but okay. I think my wheels have been spinning far enough.
Yeah, I think you've gone far
Um,
enough onto this rabbit hole of, like,
yeah. If I
potential threads here.
if I keep going, I don't think I'm gonna actually get anywhere. I
No,
think it's
I think
just
this
gonna
is
make
good for
this
this
episode
episode.
extra long.
Yeah, and you're gonna have more opportunities to kind of, like,
Absolutely.
theorize as we get more information. Like, we are down to the last 7 episodes of the season, and
Jesus.
I will say it is primarily, like, real plot heavy stuff. Like, we are gonna get more information. We don't have there's not a lot of filler left.
Good. I like that. I do have.
This is the better half of the season.
Oh, perfect. I do have one last little rabbit hole that I want to
Okay. I'm
jump
into it.
into. Why haven't we met or mentioned or seen Jesus?
Okay, continue. I can't say anything,
No,
so just,
I know,
like, continue on your
sorry.
thought.
That was just
your thought
dramatic
train.
pause, I guess. Because going off of, like, the old Christian stuff, like, yeah, God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit are, like, one and the same, sure, but they are also separate entities at the same time. We know God has left. Does that imply that Jesus and the Holy Spirit have left? I don't know, but I think it's absurd if this show doesn't show Jesus in some sort of form at some point.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of fair. Bear in mind the context of this show as a CW show coming out of the Midwest in the 2010s.
True.
And think about, like, the lines they're pushing are already fairly significant.
Yeah. They've quoted the Bible. They brought God, angels,
Jesus
Lucifer.
gets mentioned a lot regularly.
Really?
Yeah, I just went and pulled up, like, the wiki, and, like, either a name or an image is, like,
oh yeah, fair. Oh, Cass does,
eight
like,
times
when he becomes
8 times in
God.
season. It's like 8 times in season 1, 3 times in season 2, 8 times in season 3, 4 times in season 4, 6 times in season 5. Like, it's at least several times per season where there's either a reference, an image, a name.
I feel like Crowley has referenced him before. Like,
yeah.
Oh yeah, you're not God's favorite son.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, like, in season 3, in A Very Supernatural Christmas, one of the pagan gods talks about, like, there's this quote that goes, he goes, like, oh, all of a sudden, this Jesus character is the new hot thing in town, and our altars are being burned down, and we're being hunted. So, like, they've referenced the existence of Jesus in terms of, like, it's his effect on other supernatural beings and gods.
Okay.
So and in season 6, like, there's a lot of, like, Eve says Jesus Jesus was just a man in season
yeah.
6. So again, I mean, Eve, reliable, unreliable narrator, but that's like also a thing to keep in mind.
Sure. Okay.
I'm not going to draw any other conclusions for you. Just like that's the information we have.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. We're moving on from theorizing because I'm gonna dig myself grave. Oh shit, August. I don't think I actually told you this. I meant to tell you and Sam this today because I told Elena last episode. But as of last episode, I 100% officially realized that Supernatural has become a comfort show for me. Because when I watched Repo Man, I right before watched Inside Out 2 and almost had a fucking panic attack because like seeing anxiety like represented on the screen for like a young teen and like feeling that relate too deeply to me as a kid. I was like, oh my God, this is like making me secondhand embarrassment times 400. And I was like, oh, I can feel my heart beating. Like, oh, I'm stressing out right now. And then we went and watched Supernatural right after. And I was like,
your body calmed down.
Like I was like, this is the shit I know. Like, this is good. This is fine. Okay.
You've arrived. Supernatural now is disturbingly making you feel calm.
Yes, absolutely. To be fair, I think it happened a while before this
I'm
point,
sure.
But like, this is the first time that I actually realized it, and there was like a physiological reaction to it. And I was like,
I'm so happy about this. About this.
I just needed you to know.
Thank you. I did need to know that. That's lovely. That's lovely. I was kind of waiting for that to happen. So I kind of had figured it had happened a while ago. Just there was a point where your kind of way of talking about Supernatural shifted from like purely analytical to like affectionate. I don't know when it was, but you definitely shifted from like, I like this show to like, oh, I'm attached.
There was one moment when I was talking about Bobby that something swapped. And hey, if any listeners out there knew when that was, if you could pinpoint it, hit us up in the Discord. Let me know. Tag me. Say like, hey, Noah, I think it was this episode. I'll go back and listen to that episode, and I'll let you know. I swear.
Yeah.
Nick, if you know, let me know.
Nick has speedran our episodes, so if anyone is likely to know, that's probably Nick. True. There's probably others of you that are likely to know as well. So
please.
We'd love you to hear. Okay. A couple other little notes.
Yes.
Sorry. Do you have a note that is connected or? Okay. No. I think that it's really sweet. The like when like Dean's insistence on like we're gonna get Sam some sleep. I think that's there's a couple nice moments there.
Yeah.
He talks about like, at the end he's like, oh, we'll find a soft rock station that always knocks you out. I think that's really sweet. Like that sort of knowledge of like I know how to take care of you.
Yes, like
they're communicating actually quite well this episode.
And this has been going for like 3 episodes at this point.
Like Sam obviously told Dean pretty immediately after the previous episode about Lucifer, about the fact that Lucifer's hallucinations are back. That's huge.
And I really think the fact that Dean says, oh, did you try the hand thing where you rub your hand? I think that speaks more to Dean picking up on it happening earlier in the season, like episode after episode where Sam's rubbing his hand, and then not Sam telling him like, so I use this trick. But I really think it speaks more about Dean being like, oh, well, I've noticed you doing that. Then I know that you're still dealing with this stuff. Have you tried that? Like, I really loved that sort of communication between them about like, even if it is Sam saying, hey, this is something that I've used to fight Lucifer, I believe in my heart that Dean knew it all along.
I think I like that interpretation a lot because it speaks to like, I think that's more likely that Sam wouldn't have explicitly said that, but that Dean would have figured it out.
I think it's also likely that Sam would have said it, but Dean would have been like, oh no, I know. But that's not working anymore. Like, is that what you're concerned
they've
about?
They've had this conversation more as a mutual understanding. Then as a like I needed to tell you, and even like Dean has figured out. Like I think you get this lovely thing in the last couple episodes of them both not needing to say it because they just know each other that well, but also saying it because they're actually working on communicating better and because like, they've learned from their mistakes. Sure
they've said it like yes.
They're trying to make sure that it's not just they're not just relying on the other person's knowledge, and they're not like season 6. So much of the tension was of like Sam not telling Dean things, and they've been rebuilding that trust podcast recently, I think, of like, I think it's huge to see that like that sort of, we don't see it on screen, but we know that they've clearly been communicating. And so it's not a surprise.
Yes.
How Sam's doing in this episode.
And they've been vulnerable with each other, not just in this episode, but in prior off-screen scenes. Like the fact that they have been so honest and vulnerable and shared stuff that they are struggling with. Love that. Love to see that growth.
Yeah.
Pepsi does too. That's why she just said something.
Yeah, Pepsi. That's like the last big note I had.
Yes, we already talked about how Frank has been taken. I think it's going to be a really intense scene of whenever he shows back up and they have to figure out whether or not he's going to be a Leviathan or if he's the real Frank, or if like I'm very curious to see if Leviathans have figured out a way to hide themselves from somebody who knows what they're like. But we've already proven that they bleed black goo. So and both Frank and Dean are willing to cut themselves with the same knife without cleaning it after whatever.
Please be safe from bloodborne pathogens.
Please,
I know Leviathans are a bigger threat, but like, let's just, you should know better.
Imagine if we can like hide the color of their blood for a second, and you see them cut it and it's red, and then you take it and you cut your hand and you look up and now it's black on the other person's hand, and you're like, oh, cool. So now that's inside me. I'm fucked.
Right, like dudes. The basics. Like, did your father teach you nothing? Like, we know he taught you nothing, but did your father teach you nothing? Like,
did he even know about Leviathans? Can we talk about that for a second? There's no fucking way John knew anything about Leviathans.
No, John didn't know anything about, but he didn't know about,
he didn't know about angels.
But John was also in the military. John was in the military, so you'd think he would have known about like basic wound care.
Yeah, that's true. Although an old friend of mine was also a Marine, and I would be confident in saying that he knew nothing about wound care.
Okay,
he would
so
get a sprained ankle and walk it off for a week and be like, no, it's fine. It's just like it's still bad.
Not knowing, or is that just like not doing? Is that like, not knowing what to do, or is that just like being stubborn?
Which one sounds more like John?
The stubbornness.
Yeah. So
well, it's true, because they don't have a proper first aid kit, despite the fact that they get injured all the time when they're younger, and they do things like they use like floss to like tie up wounds, when I'm like, you could just go to a drugstore and like have a first aid kit in your car. Like,
please, you've already stolen so much money for like motel
you can have
rooms
antiseptic. You don't have to pour alcohol on open wounds. You can just use antiseptic. You have access to that.
Please.
John.
You know what? I really think that leads me into my mixtape suggestion for this episode.
Great, amazing.
Right here at the end of the episode. And it is Where Is My Mind by Pixies.
Ooh.
First of all, because it slaps. And second of all, because what the fuck are you guys thinking about this episode? Like, you are struggling to find like the connections, and you're like lost this whole episode. Not just the boys, but also Frank. Like, he's very certain, but then at the end, clearly he's dug himself in too deep and something came back to bite him in the butt. So it's like nobody's really thinking with their whole brain this episode. Not even the Leviathan lady. She's like abusing her assistant without really thinking that he has the potential to try to fight back at some point. So
yeah, true.
A lot of people aren't using their full 100% of their brain this episode.
That's true. Very true. I like that. That's a good suggestion. It's a good mixtape. My mixtape for today is The Curse by Agnes Obel.
Ooh.
And I've been waiting to use this song for like this is sort of Sam. Like, Sam is sort of like, this is the thing, is like, he is sort of like, he cannot seem to escape Lucifer. Like, Lucifer is literally in his mind. It doesn't seem to matter what he does. Lucifer seems to keep finding him. There's this like line in this song that goes, "Tell me now, the very soul that look alike, do you know the stranglehold covering their eyes?" And I just think like the visuals of this song work really well for like the feeling that Sam has of like being trapped and sort of being cursed. Like, Sam has been struggling with this since early seasons, the idea that he's cursed, and this seems to be like just a continuation of that. Like,
but that's a good ass pick.
It's on my Sam playlist for a reason. We would also be remiss in this mixtape suggestion if we didn't talk about the use of Bad Moon Rising in this episode.
Oh my god.
I think it's, again, used so well. It's not the first time we've seen it. It was also also used in season 1.
Yep.
But it's back, and I think
Yep.
it's like, yeah.
And I think I've mentioned a few times that, and maybe this was in the last episode, but I am a huge fan of when stuff in the episode crosses over into the credits instead of like doing the typical Supernatural credits music.
Yeah.
Having that song continue over really just like makes you take a deep breath as along with the episode ending, and you're like, oh fuck, okay, shit's getting real. I love it.
I don't have any other points. Do you have any other things you want to say from this episode?
I'm solid. I'm good.
Cool. Well, then with that, this is going to lead us right into our final, often our favorite section of the episode, which is our character blessings. Woo! Noah, who would you like to bless today?
I really think I'm going to bless Frank this episode.
Yes.
Because he is an icon and a legend, and I respect him so much and how much he's trying to help the boys, even though he's a little, off his rocker, we'll say. But
he's helping them.
He's putting in the work and doing above and beyond what they're asking of him too. So I really like that he's helping out these guys who he barely knows but really trusts. So a little shout out to Frank and a blessing. Hope that you are doing all right.
Right. Yeah. Little cliffhanger at the end of this episode. For what's coming next. I think that I'm gonna bless Sam this episode. Sucks to do the right thing, and have it backfire so spectacularly on you. He opens the door in the previous episode so that they can solve the case, save the people. And now Lucifer's taken up residence again in his brain, and he is trying his ever-loving best to ignore and hold on. And he's tired.
Yeah.
So, a blessing for Sam for holding on when he's so tired, and a hope that he gets some rest.
A bonus blessing. I really hope that he did get to sleep on the way to Frank's.
Yeah.
I really hope that.
Really hope that he had some actual sleep.
Yeah.
Fuck. Because we're now we're worried about Sammy again now.
Could be the subtitle of the show.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Well, with that, that's the end of our episode. Thanks, Noah. It was fun.
This was a great time.
Love a good
episodes
duo.
were so much fun. I feel like this one got a little longer than the typical duo because we did a lot of theorizing. I did a lot of theorizing. But
I'm so excited to hear how you feel. When we I'm excited to get to some of the answers from your theorizing, because I think you're on some really interesting paths with your hypotheses. So, I love it. I love it. I love hearing the in-depth workings of your brain as someone who doesn't know what's going to come next.
And to be fair, I turned off this episode right before we started recording. So these gears have been turning while we talked. So it wasn't like I spent a lot of time reminiscing. This was all live realizations.
Just right out there. And we're going to keep having fun with that because we are coming up to
7 episodes.
Some answers. 7 episodes left of this season. Cannot believe we are at the point when we get through this season and, halfway through season 8 is our halfway point of the show. So wow.
Guys, we're so close. And honestly, I really can't thank all of the listeners enough for coming along with us on this journey. But if you haven't already, because I'm so confident that many of you have, make sure you have subscribed to Saving People Queering Things wherever you listen to podcasts. And okay, let's be real. If you haven't shared the show with your friends already, you should feel bad. Please go out there, share it with anybody.
Just waiting for his opportunity to alienate our listeners by insulting them vaguely.
Not insulting, but I'm saying, hey, if you listen to our show, clearly you like Supernatural. Clearly you like us. If you know anybody else that watches Supernatural, whether or not they think they listen to podcasts, share the show with them. Because
share the show.
Why are you holding them back from having us involved in their brainwaves? Why are you stopping them from laughing at my
That's true.
my
You're
crazy
just giving
theories?
a gift.
Yeah, come on.
If you want to hear the end of Noah's theories and see where they take us next week, you can share the show.
Please.
Be very grateful.
But you can also join our free Discord social where we talk back and forth with some of our fans about my crazy ass theories. You can find links to our socials, but you can also catch up to this latest season mixtapes, and all of that info will be on our website, which is queeringthingspodcast.com. gmail.com.
And if you like this show, and more so if you like listening to us, you can also find our D&D adventure DM'd by the incredible DM Noah himself. That is Queering People's Saving Throws and involves me, Noah, Elena, Sam, and also our dear friend KJ from Supernatural Opinions. And those episodes release right on this feed every other week. So,
well, be sure to ride along with us next week as we explore season 7, episode 17, The Born Again Identity, through the theme of desperation.
I'm so excited.
Let me just say, the amount of times that I'm going to say, Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne through that episode is probably going to be pretty high.
Oh, you're going to have opportunities. You are going to have opportunities. It is going to be a great time.
Okay, good.
We got the whole crew there for that episode. Sam and Elena will both be joining us as well.
Yes.
So excited for this episode. If you have seen the show before, you know why. If you haven't seen the show before, watch that episode for next week.
And then tune in.
We're gonna have fun.
See how I felt about it.
Yeah, cannot wait.
I'm so excited.
So excited. Yeah, thank you all so much for coming along for the ride, and we wish you a peaceful road until we meet again.